On September 11th, I was in high school at the time.
I was driving to Deloro.
I was at home when my grandma called and told me to turn on the news. And I turned it on while I was waiting for my carpool to school, because I believe I was in kindergarten at the time. And I remember watching it on the news and the events unfold.
I remember very clearly, I was driving to school, and I rode a motorcycle at the time, so I was parking my motorcycle in the bike rack at the school. I don't know why I remember that very vividly. And I was coming out of the rack, and my history teacher ran into me at the time. He said, "Ben, have you heard the news?" Or something like that.
I believe it was around 6:15, maybe 6:30 in the morning, and I got a news flash that a plane had hit one of the Twin Towers. And at the time, the news had assumed it was a small aircraft, probably nothing significant.
I said, "No, what's going on?" He said, "Some guys stole some planes and crashed them into some buildings in New York." And I thought he was joking, because he's kind of an odd character, right? And when it finally set in that he wasn't joking, it was kind of a surreal moment. Because I remember walking to my class and everyone kind of knew the news already, from the morning news or whatever. And I knew nothing about it. So it didn't really hit me until we got into class and they were showing it on the news.
Well, I remember going to school. We watched lots of videos that day. Well, I guess at the time it would have been lots of news reports from NBC and all that, and talked a lot about it a lot.
I think 9/11. I remember it for a lot of reasons. One, that day was probably the most traumatic day in my professional life, for sure, and certainly the nation's life.
I'll remember 9/11 most by just the images, watching the news of watching the planes crash into the buildings that day and the following days, and seeing the images of people falling out of the towers and stuff like that. I'll never forget that. That's my biggest memory of 9/11 is that image and knowing that just happened.
It really changed the mood of, today's date. I mean, every year it's much more somber. It was a traumatic event. It really changed, a lot of things. Boosted our country's patriotism and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah.
Well, for me personally, a side note to September 11th was that I had taken another job as a manager for a medical sales company that my friend owned. And I told the principal at the time, Mr. Christensen, that I would be leaving in October. So they were looking for another social science teacher because I was teaching history. And when September 11th occurred, the company decided not to expand and told me to hold off on that job for a year. And I decided to do that, and when the job reopened the following year, it just didn't make sense for me anymore. It felt like education was more important than taking a sales job or a manager's job, and I probably wouldn't be a teacher still today if September 11th hadn't occurred. But it really, it was such a profound incident in my life that I realized teaching was more important than doing anything else.